Hey guys, it's Lizzie. I'm so excited to be back live streaming. It feels so nice. In today's live stream, we're going to talk about my burnout creatively, where I've been a lot of this year, and the new Hyde Amendment bill, which is going to the Senate soon, and then also the Olympics. A lot of people have been throwing a lot of shade at Simone Biles, and she's actually Catholic, so I thought we could talk about that as well. So first, just addressing my YouTube channel. So I actually calculated it, and I have made 27 videos this year, not including live streams, which if you divide that by 7 is 1 a week. I think the reason why it seems like I've been gone is because I won't upload for like 2.5, 3 weeks, and I'll upload 3 times a week, and then not upload for 3 weeks, and then upload 3 times a week. And it's something I didn't understand for like months, like why this was happening to me. And I think the best word to describe it is burnout. I've been doing YouTube for 12 years, and I've taken small breaks through the years, but the past 5 years, I've never taken a break from YouTube. I've uploaded 1 or 2 times, sometimes 3 times a week for 5 years. And I think I just really needed a break, and I just didn't understand what was going on, because it's like I would go to edit and I would be so slow, and it's like my brain just wasn't working creatively. So I'm at a point now where I've written so many video scripts. I am really getting into the mood of editing again, and I've been doing a lot of social media. I had to quit social media for my Fiat 90 earlier in the year, and I think that wasn't a good thing for me. So I'm finally coming back. I've been doing Instagram like every single day with stories, and then putting those on my Facebook, and I'm also going back to TikTok. I have all of these TikTok ideas, so that will hopefully be coming out next week or later, but I have a lot of idea for Catholic content that I'll also be posting in Reels on Instagram. So anyways, I'm really excited to be back. I'm sorry that I was not communicating with you guys and not on. I was just in a really weird headspace. And I even was thinking, like, should I quit YouTube? Like, I didn't understand what was going on. And I think that what I should have done is just like take a month off and not post anything. And instead it was like, post a ton, not post, post a ton, not post. So anyways, I think that should be expected, that like in 5 years, I never stop doing YouTube. So what I'm doing is stepping back a lot. I'm going to be uploading every single Wednesday, 1 video, and then live streaming at this time every Saturday night at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 Mountain. So that's what's going on with my channel. I have another job added on just because I want to get out of the house and do something else, but I will be uploading every week, just not spending like 80 hours a week working, giving myself more of a work-life balance, if that makes sense. So let's get into, I'll read some of your comments first. I got Peacock just to watch the Olympics. Same. I think so many people can relate to that. I live by the freeway and don't get a signal for regular TV. That's interesting. I actually don't know anyone who has TV still. I mean, I know a lot of people's, just like everyone in my life just has like Netflix. I don't know how people watch other shows. Okay. What happened to your cat? Nothing happened to my cat. He's doing great. You look nice. Thank you. Do you actually talk to your patrons? Yes, I follow a lot of them on social media. And so it's really cool getting to see their Instagram and Twitter and like what they're doing behind the scenes. So I have a lot of fun with that. Can you do a video on the Jewish roots of Catholicism? That's a really good video idea. I can write that down. I have a giant document on this computer with video ideas. It's like overloaded. Okay, let's see. New videos, where is it? Okay. Oh my goodness, there's 35 things on the list. That's ridiculous. Okay, Jewish roots of Catholicism. It was really interesting for me researching into Catholicism because there's a lot of so many similarities in our thinking. Like, they also pray for the dead. They believe in like a middle state type thing. And like, if you go to a Jewish service, it's like very similar to the Catholic one in a lot of ways. So it's very interesting how we're so similar there. Oh, and also their understanding of tradition, like they don't understand it as like, oh, we're only going by our scripture. They really care about the interpretations of it. So very similar. I think that brings a lot of people to Catholicism. What is your height? I recently figured out I'm 5'9.5". I thought it was 5'8" for like, no, I thought it was 5'7.5". And I said I was 5'8" for like the longest time. And now I think I was hanging out with one of my friends who's taller, and she's like, there's no way you're 5'8". So then we measured me, and I'm 5'9". So I'm an inch and a half taller. But the thing is, I've really been working on my posture over the past year. So before I would like slouch a lot, whereas now I stand up like super straight. And so everyone in my life is like, you got taller just because I've been like working on my back and improving my posture. Okay. I finally figured out how to get TikTok on my computer. I didn't know that was possible. That's so cool. You were on my mind today. Aw. Leslie says Pins with Aquinas is actually doing a break from the internet. We should all take a break. Yeah, that's a really good thing. I think the thing about YouTube is like, if you're not constantly uploading, then you won't be in the algorithm. So it's like this fear that if you're not always posting, like if you take a break, it's like you'll lose so many views long term from your subscribers because YouTube will stop recommending them. So that's why for the past 5 years, I've uploaded like 2 to 3 times a week, because it's like you're literally scared. Like if you don't like run on a treadmill creatively, you'll lose your income. And so that's something where I was just like, I'm going to get another job and not worry about income anymore. And I don't have to clickbait. I don't have to like do things that I'm not completely comfortable with to get views, or that other people view as unethical to get views. So yeah, I think it's the best thing possible to just add on another job and to not have to worry about finances with YouTube. I was like, where is Lizzie? Leslie says, how is the vegan lifestyle working? And we're going to talk about Hyde Amendment right after this. I'm considering vegetarian. So, this is actually a mukbang. I forgot. So I have my food right here. So I have brown rice cooked in a rice cooker. I have tofu that's like baked in the oven with oil and spices for 40 minutes. So it's super crispy. And then I have broccoli. I have some mushrooms in this today, but I usually have avocado, but my avocados are not ripe. Super sad. So yeah, I need to eat. What are your thoughts on Jordan Peterson? I don't really have any thoughts, but a lot of other Catholic YouTubers do, so you could watch their content on it. You were born in 1994? Yes! So I just turned 27 last week. It's been a week of being 20, I think. What's today? Yeah, it's been like 8 or 9 days from being 27, which is so exciting for me. A lot of people are like scared to go into their 30s, but I'm totally not, because I will continue peaking. So I think everyone can keep peaking even in your 40s, 50s, 60s. It's never too late to get super passionate about life. Ahmed says, I decided to become vegan when I turned 18. I want to avoid hypertension, kidney disease, and diabetes. Yeah, veganism prevents so many diseases. It's incredible. I remember you said you were a virgin until marriage, right? Yes, and I want to clarify real quick. Catholicism rarely uses the word virgin. We use the word chastity or celibacy, because it's really important that if in your past you were not religious or you disobeyed your religion, it's not this idea that like, oh, you're not a virgin anymore, so you're dirty and you can never vow chastity to God and to the church. That's completely wrong. So I think it's really important to think about the present and the future, where you can live out chastity, you can be celibate. It's not about thinking at this one point you lost your virginity and then it's over for you. Like, God redeems absolutely everyone. Everyone can go to the sacrament of confession. And something else really horrible is that people who have been sexually assaulted think that because it's been taken away from them. Some Christian theology purity culture has basically said like they're dirty from that and that they're not pure anymore, which is so ridiculous, viewing virginity in like a physical sense. It's definitely like a choice. It's always a choice. If that choice was taken away from you, obviously that's not something that has any moral weight on your life. And so because of all these reasons, I think it's really important to just not say the word virginity and just say chastity. And I think you could say like, I'm saving myself for marriage, and I do use the word virgin sometimes to clarify to people about my past decisions too. But yeah, let's just keep saying chastity, celibacy, focusing on the present and the future. I think a lot of people think, oh, I've had sex in the past. What's the point of continuing to wait until marriage when I already had sex? And so that's why I really, really appreciate and respect how Catholicism really uses the word chastity. Okay. So I really want to talk about the Hyde Amendment legislation going on. I was honestly heartbroken, devastated. I almost started crying. I'm sure there were like tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Catholics who literally cried when they figured out the issue going on. So basically, the Hyde Amendment has been part of our legislation. Let me see. I think I wrote down all the statistics. Okay, so the Hyde Amendment has existed since 1976, and it means that American tax dollars are not going to support abortion. So since 1976, this has been in our code where we're not going to take everyone's tax dollars and then pay for people to have abortions, which I think is a really amazing compromise. Obviously, I don't want to compromise on abortion, but just facts. If we're already going to legalize abortion for people who are pro-choice, it's a good idea to not force pro-life people to pay for it with their tax dollars. That's just going to create a lot of chaos in the country. So what's really interesting is that 58% of Americans, they've done surveys a few years ago. The one last year also found 58% of Americans are pro the Hyde Amendment. So 58% of Americans do not want our tax dollars to support abortion. So I calculated it. And that is 190 million Americans. So 190 million Americans are completely against this legislation. And I think it's not just a Catholic issue. It's not just a Protestant issue. It's not just Christianity as a whole. It's like so many religions in our country are against abortion, and they view that fetus as a real human life. And so this is just disrespecting like 190 million people. Like people who aren't even religious are pro-life as well. And so I honestly don't understand how they can't come up with some other funding source. It's just so ridiculous. And obviously I might come across as angry right now, but I think the main emotion I have felt is just heartbroken. Like just knowing when I pay taxes next year that a little bit of that money will be funding that. It's just, I mean, there's already pro-life protests about it, but the fact that we're being forced to pay for it is just so heartbreaking. So it's really important to reach out to your senators and write them a letter, write them like a handwritten letter about the situation. I think it's really important to make it very personal. So don't just be like, I hate this legislation, don't do this. Like, I recommend literally writing a card, handwriting the letter. I think that will definitely get the senators to like actually read it and explain how 190 million Americans are against it and how it violates your faith. And I'm really confident that we can kind of get this removed. If the Hyde Amendment gets removed, I think we can make this a court case situation because I just think it violates so many people. And it's honestly heartbreaking. Like, obviously, the fact that abortion is going on, I think most of us like do not even process how much of it happens and how many children are killed in our country. And so now I think it's like coming to everyone so strongly, understanding that tax dollars could be funding it. And so I really recommend that you guys reach out to your senators. And there are 2 pro-life senators who are Democrats, so I hope that they vote for it. So I believe I wrote down their names. Maybe it was in a different document. Okay. So there are 2 Democrat senators, and I'm going to make a whole post about this on my Facebook page. So Senator Bob Casey Jr. in Pennsylvania voted for the Born Alive Act, which was a couple years ago. And then Senator John Manchin III in West Virginia also voted pro-life on the Born Alive Act. And so I think those 2 senators could be swing votes in this situation who could really help. But I still think it's important to reach out to all of your senators, even if they're Republican, also if they're Democrat, and just explain the situation to them, because I think we do have a lot of power through individual lobbying is the term for it. And I think that it's one of the most important things we need to do right now to help save lives. Okay, I'm going to read your thoughts on the Hyde Amendment. Leslie says, what does the wrench mean? So there are people whose names are in blue and then it has a wrench. It means that they're a moderator for the chat, which means that if they see a comment that is inappropriate, they're able to delete it. They can also put people in timeout if it's a really inappropriate comment. So I really appreciate that a lot, because even though YouTube has developed a lot of censorship. I forget what the word is called. But through the years, starting in like 2015, YouTube started like automatically deleting a lot of comments that were sexual in nature or racist or misogynistic, stuff like that. And so still that's possible. You can't like completely remove all of those comments. So it's really nice when I'm focusing on answering questions, they can remove things that are super offensive to a lot of groups of people. Twilight Mist says, I am an atheist and I am pro-life. Absolutely. The 190 million people who are pro-Hyde Amendment, there's a lot of them who are not religious at all. So it's really important to know that this isn't a Catholic issue. This isn't a religious issue. It's an 190 million Americans issue, which is 56% of the country, so the majority of the country. Leslie says, we are in South Carolina. It's a Republican state. We have always been protesting. We always have people protesting abortion clinics. Real quick, I need to turn my air conditioning on. I'm so hot. I get cold really easily, so sometimes I turn it off in the middle of the day, and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. And then later, it'll be like 80 degrees in here, and I'll be like, oh, I should turn it back on. So I should just have it consistently at like 78 or something. I don't know. I think that would be best. Okay. Jake Loves Jesus says, I just made a confession video exposing myself on my channel. I think my ministry is over. I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't understand that. Vince says, we are all in our prime. No one is old. What is the Hyde Amendment? Just to clarify, it has existed since let me clarify. 1976, and it means that taxpayer dollars cannot pay for abortions. So they're trying to get rid of the Hyde Amendment for the first time since 1976 so that federal tax dollars are going to pay for abortion. Oh, Vince, I did not see your super comment. Thank you. Vince says, thank you for the donation. Hey, Lizzie, I started streaming on Twitch, which my dream. Oh, my best friend Cody's daughter was born yesterday. Josh in grad school and moved to West Coast. Oh, you started streaming on Twitch, which was your dream, and your best friend Cody just had a daughter. That's so sweet. And then Josh is in grad school and moved to the West Coast. That's one of the sad parts. Obviously, there's like a million sad parts about the pandemic, but one of the sad parts is not getting to meet my friends' children. Like 3 of my friends have had babies in the past year, and I've like literally never met them. Wait a second. I'm going to put up my hair real quick. Ever since June, I've been wearing my hair in a ponytail or a bun like every single day because it's so hot. I was in Florida for 3 weeks and it was just like miserable. So if you guys have seen my stories and stuff, I always have my hair up. Okay. Someone says they almost thought about becoming Jewish. Yeah, so if I left Catholicism, I would first become Orthodox, then Jewish, then atheist. So it's definitely a good option if for some reason Christianity is proved to be wrong. Michelle says, I was a high school freshman in 1995. Oh my goodness. Okay. Tips to grow a Christian YouTube channel. So I think social media, like Instagram and TikTok, is like where you need to be right now. And so I think you need to get those numbers up really high to increase your YouTube algorithm as well. But honestly, I don't have any advice with the algorithm because it's constantly changing. It's completely random which videos go viral, which videos get a lot of views, which videos don't get a lot of views. I could make, and this has been going on since like 2014 is when the algorithm really started to change. So like oh my goodness, I was just like sitting on the light. That's so scary. One time I was filming a video and like there was a thunderstorm going on and the lights kept going off. It was so scary. Anyway, so the algorithm prior to 2014, everyone's homepage on YouTube showed all the recent uploads of the people they were subscribed to. So every time you went on YouTube, you saw everyone's new videos. So in 2014, they ended that and they changed the front page to like random videos that YouTube randomly wants you to watch. So what you need is to get people to turn on all notifications. If they turn on notifications, it'll be like some notifications. You have to turn on all notifications, but YouTube randomly unsubscribes people, randomly turns off notifications. So it's really difficult. I have no clue how to figure out the algorithm, even though I've been doing this for 12 years because it's constantly changing. So what you need to do is upload once or twice a week, maybe collaborate with other people, interview people on your channel who have more views. Although I don't like think of it like that, like I'm using this person for more views. I've never done that before. I've never thought like that before, if that makes sense. So Leslie says, if you quit YouTube, I'd like to keep up with you. You've helped me out so much. I'm doing RCIA this year. Welcome home. It's so hard waiting to partake of the Eucharist. Aww. I think the really good part of waiting is that you never take it for granted because you waited for like a year to receive it. So I think it's really good to wait. I'm 32. I feel old. You are not old at all. My fiance is turning 32 this year. I think. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Yeah, he's turning 32 this year. So he's not old at all. All you have to do is take care of your skin, be super energetic and happy, never lose your passion for life, and people always think you're young. Nobody's perfect. You made the first move on your fiance, right? Just asking because I always hated that guys are expected to be the initiator in starting a relationship. Yes, like most of the guys I've been with, I have made the first move. It's kind of weird to me when a guy makes the move towards me. I'm just uncomfortable with it because it's like he's the one in power almost, in control. I don't like it. I like being in control. So yes, I made the first move on him. We never would have become friends or known each other if I hadn't been really intense. Let's hang out. Come to my Bible study. Come to this movie night. Let's join my hiking group. I just invited him to so many group events, which I think is a really good idea when you first started dating someone or you're attracted to someone. It's really good to hang out with them in group situations. Because if you just start hanging out with them one-on-one, it can get like so much emotional depth so fast that can make you end up being really, really hurt. And so I think it's really important to not like trust someone with so many deep emotions until they've proven to you that they're going to be a consistent person in your life. So I think it's better to hang out with people in groups starting off. It's just like healthier. It protects you. Also, you get to see what they're like around other people, which is really important. Because the way someone is around you could be like all a show and a facade, but if you see what they're like around other people, that you really get to know them better. So yummy. Oh, but yeah, I feel really strongly about getting rid of a lot of gender norms. So obviously, as a Catholic, I believe that there are biological gender differences in our brains. So it's wrong to say like there are no differences between men and women. And like everything's on a spectrum. So of course there's going to be women who act more masculine, there's going to be men who act more feminine, just because everything's on a spectrum. But that doesn't mean you get rid of the general norm because there are outliers in the group. But my thing is that we need to get rid of a lot of these stereotypes, because expecting like introvert men who are not as assertive to make all the moves in a relationship is unlikely to work. And then as a female, if you're super extroverted and you're very outgoing and you could create and start the relationship, it makes no sense that you shouldn't encourage the more extroverted one to do it. Like I've gotten so many messages through the years of people who are like, I'm an introvert, my crush is an introvert, neither of us is making the first move. So like if you're an extrovert, obviously make the first move. And you don't have to be like, I really like you. You could just be like, hey, let's hang out sometime. Come to my Bible study group. Come to my soccer group. Come to my youth group hangout. I don't know how old you guys are. But Vince says, thank you so much for the donation. Lizzie, what are your thoughts on poetry? I wrote this one girl, I really like poems, and she really likes them. She streams about playing piano. By the way, miss your stream. Oh, that's really, really sweet to write poems to someone. I used to write poems back in the day, but now I've kind of like been not as creative growing up into an adult. Chaya says, who I think is a female, I identify much more with masculine character traits than feminine ones. Yeah, I've even been made to feel like I'm not a full woman because I don't relate to a lot of like female stereotype gender roles. Like, I am very assertive, very combative, very logical. I'm not good at emotional support. Like my entire life, I've been horrible at emotional support and like understanding other people's emotions. And I've really, really worked at it and tried to like change myself and understand like the formula of how to give emotional support. But yeah, I'm just the type of person who like doesn't fit into the feminine gender roles. And then I know a lot of men who are not going to be like super logical and assertive and like taking control. Like some men are just more introverted and they're like more sensitive and they're like really good at their emotions and they're great at giving emotional support to other people. So I think we should just encourage both genders to grow really strong into their weaknesses and to see positives in both stereotypes, because I think everyone can work on just being like a more well-rounded person. Michelle says, I have a lot of boy cousins and 4 uncles, so I can relate more to guys, but I'm not. I'm still female. That's really interesting too, like who you grew up around can affect you as well. Like growing up, like all of my friends in elementary school were guys, so I think that might affect it as well. But at the same time, like if you end up naturally becoming friends with the opposite gender, maybe it is because you already vibe more with that gender. I don't know. Oh, Irene says, Lizzie, the Philippines won its first Olympic gold medal in weightlifting, and the athlete won with the miraculous Medal of Mary. She also prayed the new Vita for help with the Olympics. Oh, that's so sweet. That's really exciting. Okay, so I want to talk about the Olympics more. I need to make sure I get this name right. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I get this right. Okay, so I want to talk about Simone Biles. So a lot of people have been keeping up with it, but she dropped out of first the team event, and then she dropped out of the individual all-around event, and then she dropped out of the vault, and then she dropped out of uneven bars. So she still has 2 more events that she could compete in. But I think actually Simone did a really bad job of explaining it at first, or maybe the media reported it horribly. But she kept saying about mental health, and like we don't know what's going on in her brain, but what she's saying now and what it seemed like at the time is that it was just a safety issue. Because she went to do one vault, her body did a totally different move than she intended to do. And then she got like so lucky, and I mean she's very talented, but the way she landed was like extremely lucky. She could have been so injured by it. And so the issue was that her body was doing different things than it was supposed to be doing, which is super scary. She does like the most intense, dangerous gymnastics moves. And gymnastics as a sport, like people become paralyzed by it. People can die. And I think we're used to watching like the best of the best. But if you look historically through the sport of gymnastics, people have become paralyzed and died. And I think because her moves are so dangerous, she wanted to step out so that she didn't harm herself. Like, it's not worth more gold medals if you have that chance of being paralyzed. And so I think she just should have said from the beginning, like, hey, I went to do a vault. My body did a different vault. I could have injured myself. I don't want to be paralyzed and die. I think that's what she should have said to the media. And maybe in the moment she didn't realize what was happening, but people were like constantly mocking her all over the internet, saying like mental health issues, as if she just like felt a little negativity or a little bit of anxiety about her performance. Like, no, she didn't want to die. And so I think she should have said that from the very, very beginning, and everyone would have been on her side. Seriously, like if you say, I went to do a vault, my body randomly did a different vault, I almost seriously injured myself, I don't want to become paralyzed. And then ultimately she dropped out of the team event so that her team could medal. Like if she hadn't dropped out, her team probably would not have medaled if her body kept doing completely different things that she intended to do. So yeah, I don't understand why anyone viewing that vault was like, oh, mental health issues, as if it was like some random thing. Like she just didn't feel like competing. No, she could have become paralyzed. So yeah, but another Olympian, Michaela Maroney, did like a really long story about it, explaining the situation. And she said that one time when she was competing on balance beam, she did like a super easy move. And as she went to do it, her head just hit the bar and she got a concussion. And so she says stuff like that can happen all the time. And I think we're just not used to seeing it as much because we don't like follow gymnastics. I mean, some people follow it all throughout every year, but most people just watch the Olympics. So Chaya said, a lot of gymnastics moves have been banned from the Olympics due to the risk of serious injury. Yeah, it's really, really scary. I was reading even the vault that they use in the Olympics, it used to be like very small, but a couple people like fell into, not like they knocked it like from that angle, and they became really, really paralyzed. And so they started putting like cushioning around it, and now it's like a completely different vault board. So yeah, super, super scary. Twilight Mist says, I think the problem is that too many people have used that as an excuse, so we are becoming inclined to think the worst even when it is legitimate. Yeah. I mean, it kind of bothers me because, like, as someone with an actual mental illness, for example, if you're in depression, it's like you're so sleep deprived and exhausted. Your body is like barely ever in deep sleep when you're sleeping. And so your motivation is so low. So it'd be like saying, oh, I'm in severe depression, mental health, I can't go to work. That totally makes sense. But I think a lot of people have started, like what Twilight said, have started using mental health in like a very casual context who actually don't have a mental illness. So that actually really bothers me because then people with actual mental illnesses are not taken as seriously. So yeah, I definitely don't like when so many people use that in a very casual way. It really hurts actually people with mental illnesses. Vince, thank you for the donation. My goatee is, by the way, she should catch up sometime. What is up with your grammar today? Okay, Ahmed said, what is your favorite vegan meal? That's hard to say because it's constantly changing. I would say it's probably what I'm eating right now. My baked tofu, brown rice, broccoli, and avocado. And sometimes I put it in a tortilla as well. So my favorite restaurant, what they have at the restaurant is, why am I forgetting the name? Wait a second. Let me look this up on my credit card statement so I can correctly report this. I can always forget the name of it. It's my favorite restaurant though. Okay, let's see. Kava. Okay. Kava is my absolute favorite restaurant. I'm so confused. What is wrong with my bank account right now? Oh, okay. Yeah, so Kava is my favorite restaurant. They have it in LA, they have it in New York, Boston, DC. So basically it's like a Mediterranean. So you choose rice and then like all these types of greens like kale, arugula, spinach, like 9 types of like greens, lettuce you can put it in it. And then you can choose falafel or meat. Don't get meat, that's horrible. Don't kill animals. So you can get falafel, which is super good. And then you can pick like 3 types of hummus, and then you can also get like mixed veggies to put on top. And then they have all these toppings. They have like tomatoes, corn, like olives, like all these things to put on top. And then they have more sauces, and then you get pita bread with it. So it's like the best restaurant ever. So good. So that's probably my favorite vegan meal. And then I've had, no. I think my favorite vegan meal is this one restaurant I went to, and they had vegan sushi. And they put avocado, cucumber, carrot, and mango in it. And it was so good. So I really love Asian food. I think they do a really good job of making it vegan and tastes so good. Honestly, any cuisine, but American style cuisine. Like, it's so easy. I was just posting about this on Instagram the other day, how if you want to eat vegan when you're going out to eat, like, you can't go to American style restaurants. You have to go to different country cuisines. So that's why America has the highest health care costs in the entire world, because most countries, their diet consists of more vegetarian, vegan meals, whereas the US really centers around meat. So that's why our healthcare costs are so high. It's not some bizarre formula. It's just because we're eating ourselves into sickness. Tips to grow a Christian YouTube channel. I just talked about this like 5 minutes ago. So I was saying it's really, really important to focus on Instagram and TikTok. Those are like the biggest platforms right now. And so if you're trying to get more audience on YouTube, you need to stick to TikTok and Instagram. That's where it's at right now. YouTube is kind of like not as, obviously YouTube is still a thing, but TikTok and Instagram are like way more popular. So you just need to be posting once or twice a week. Create really good thumbnails, make your videos not too long at the beginning, make like 7 to 15 minute videos. Do reaction videos to other YouTubers. Those get a lot of views. You can invite people to be interviewed on your channel. So you can do collabs. That really helps. But ultimately, the algorithm on YouTube, which shows videos to people, completely changes. You have to get people to turn on notifications. Even when you do, YouTube turns off notifications and unsubscribes people randomly. So it's really rough on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know what the algorithm is right now. Wow, Christian says, I have 888,000 on TikTok and 2,000 on Instagram. I tried to use it to promote my YouTube, currently have 700 subs. That's really interesting that it's not transferring. Yeah, I don't know. I would just keep trying and keep promoting your YouTube through TikTok. That's so good to have that on TikTok. That money on TikTok, you're doing so well. Wyatt says, you got that right about other countries' eating habits. Yep. Lizzie, please answer Ahmed Rose. Can we discuss Our Lady of Fatima and Our Lady of Medjugorje? So, like, I hold some pretty controversial opinions about Medjugorje, which will offend some people. So I'm just never going to talk about it. And Our Lady of Fatima, I made my reaction to the movie video. A lot of people were actually, it's on Netflix, by the way, at least in the US. So if you want to watch the Fatima movie, you haven't yet, or you want to watch it again, it's on Netflix. But a lot of people were saying there were some like errors in the movie, but literally at the beginning of the movie, they said like based upon the apparition. So like one of the examples is her brother like really wasn't in war, and that was like a big part of the storyline. So yeah, the Miracle of the Sun, I think the movie did a horrible job of showing that, just because like I read about the Miracle of the Sun, And one of the things is like it was raining and everything was wet. And there were like thousands of people here, thousands of witnesses. They even had it on camera. Obviously, not as good video as we have today. But suddenly everything was dry. And they said it felt like the sun was falling against them and they were running away because they were so scared of it. So I feel like the movie did a horrible job sharing the miracle of the sun. And like, it's 2021. We have really good technology in creating films. So I don't know why they did such a bad job at that. But yeah, the miracle of the sun, so intense. Twilight says, I would advise diversifying your content. I've been hearing some scary stuff about big tech companies, so you should avoid focusing too heavily on one or two platforms. Yeah, so, oh, Ahmed says, for your Fatima movie, I can't see it. It says it's blocked in the US. Yeah, after it got 10,000 views, it got copyright striked, which is totally normal because I showed like most of the movie in it. So I wasn't surprised, but a lot of people got to watch it before it got taken down, which made me really happy. So yeah, I mean, I've been really scared to like talk about certain topics because Patrick Coffin got his YouTube channel deleted. And I think the main reason is he was talking about how like the pandemic isn't real or something, or like against the vaccine. So I've never said that in my videos. I've been very pro, like, let's tackle the pandemic together and get through this and everything. So I think I'm fine, but then it's like there's certain topics as well, like talking about pro-life, that could get your channel deleted and your content deleted. Like Live Action has gotten their stuff censored so many times, but since there's such a big not corporation, since there's such a big nonprofit, they've been able to like go to senators and get their stuff up again. But yeah, if you're a smaller channel, you could just get all of your content deleted in a moment, which is so scary. You're so good. You look like Cooper Tan? Who is that? Cooper Tan is a tanning salon service in Florida. Cooper Tan, yeah, I don't know what that means. Vince, thank you so much for the donation. Sorry my spell is messing up my grammar. We should catch up sometime. A lot happened in the year. By the way, I missed your Zoom Bible study. That was so fun last year. I had a lot of fun. I was so burnt out though because I did my like Fiat 90 thing earlier. So I was doing like Zoom every single day. So I definitely needed a break this summer. Don't say that, Michelle. We're losing daylight fast now. Fall is around the corner. Oh, I love summer all year round. It's so sad when it gets colder. They keep saying I look like Cooper Tan. Like I look tan? I look very pale on camera right now. I'm trying to see if the lighting. No. Yeah, I look pale regardless. Okay. The Silent Night. I have become a Catholic apologist. Yay. Thoughts on the new Pope Francis trad thing. So I'm choosing not to talk about that because I decided to not talk about controversial topics on YouTube. The Silent Night. I love studying church history, Catholic night history, and authorities something night history. Okay. If you keep your channel, I'll become a patron. That's so sweet. Yeah, I will be uploading only once a week, which I think is a lot less than I was doing before when I was uploading 2 to 3 times a week. But if you really enjoy the once a week and live stream schedule, then I would love for you to support me on Patreon. Vince says, I have anxiety from my fire alarms. Do they go off in your apartment complex? I've heard a lot of people, their fire alarm goes off like all the time. My old apartment complex, we lived on the first floor. So like we could literally walk out on the balcony. We kind of had to climb over it, but it was like on the ground floor, you know? So anytime there was a fire, we would like stay inside until like it kept going off. and we would like see the fire truck show up, and so we probably should have taken it a little bit more seriously, but we did. Michelle says, I keep supporting you on Patreon. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you guys' support. Toby says they say our mother instead of our father. Are you okay with that? A lot of influencers have talked about that. I can make a video about that as well. I'm actually starting a new series on TikTok, Instagram. I don't know why this reminded me of that, but my new series will be looking at Protestant songs that like I sang or a part of church growing up, and then finding heresies in the lyrics and like explaining why. So I have so many songs selected for this thing. Caitlin, thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate you a lot. So we're gonna do In Christ Alone, because there's a line in it like the wrath of God was satisfied, implying that God the Father experienced joy out of Jesus being tortured, when really the satisfaction was in Jesus being sacrificial and selfless and so loving. That satisfied God the Father. So I think that lyric is just so problematic because it leads to like a ton of confusion. Wyatt, thank you so much for the donation. Vince said, I love my AirPods. Same. I have them on all the time. I can't believe I've been watching your videos for almost 8 years. Time has gone by so fast, like, especially post-college. Just because when you're in school growing up, like, every year it's like, oh, I'm in a new grade. Oh, I have new classes. Whereas after you're done with, like, grad school, undergrad, law school, whatever you went to, it's just like there's not really those markers of each year. So a lot of stuff just like blends into each other. Like I think back and I was like, was that in 2019 or 2020 or 2017? You just like forget about everything. And the thing about me is like, my dad is a professor, so I hear about like, oh, it's the new semester, and same with my fiance, and all of my friends like a couple years ago were in grad school. So I should have more of that like new year concept. But I think when you don't have new classes and you're just like working all the time, yeah, it's a lot different. What is your TikTok? Lizzie's Answers. I only have one video up so far from months ago, but I will be creating a lot of content. I need to get my nails done because they're like a total mess. And I need my hands in one of the videos. So I think I'm going to get them done yellow. I can't decide because I had yellow before I had purple. And I broke my nails. It's so sad. Usually they're like naturally so long. So it really hurts when you have acrylic and you break your nail. Like it starts bleeding a lot of the time. But I am like so clumsy in touching things all the time. Like my hand just like slams into things. Okay. Fatima, reckless love. Oh my goodness, that's such a good idea. Okay, I'll add that to the list. Here we go. Reckless love. That's a great idea. A lot of my Catholic friends like hate that song. Caitlin, thank you for the donation. Happy belated birthday. We should talk soon. Oh, thank you so much. JS, your video Signs a Guy Likes You just came up on my YouTube recommendation. That's so funny. That was from when I was in high school. So like 2011, probably 10 years ago. Wyatt says, I saw you when you were reading the Bible by a lake. So inspiring. You had it so highlighted. It's that when I joined. Was that my video, like how to connect with God, how to feel God's presence, something like that? That video was very fun to film. I filmed it all by myself. It was like so many different angles. It took me so many days to film it, but it was so fun to edit. That's the one YouTube, like more creativity with like filming everything. So I don't know, but it's like you have to make content for what people want. Michelle says, you look so pretty. Thank you. This is the new palette. Have you guys tried it out? This one is like the gold. My favorite was the copper sparkle. And I like want to find new sparkle eyeshadows, but I can't find any that are like as good as that one. No Skepticism VM says, why do you have Burnout as a title if you have SI as a parent if you're an ESTJ? Because I was doing 2 to 3 YouTube videos for 5 years straight without a break, and so I had creative burnout from that. But yeah, I don't know what that has to do with being an ESTJ. I mean, I've done like 50, 60, 70-hour weeks for 5 years straight without a break. So, but ESTJs are very, very intense about working. Caitlin says, I can't believe I've been watching your channel for almost a decade. Oh, I know. It's so crazy to me because a lot of people who have been watching my channel are like, I started watching your channel in middle school. Now I've graduated college. And like, it makes me feel so old too. Caitlin, how old were you? Like, what grade were you in when you found my channel? Toby says, did they have a female version of Christ on a crucifix? I don't know what church you're talking about. Michelle says, 2 Michelles here tonight. Aw. Michelle says, I joined from your Pepperdine room tour videos. I was in a dorm rooms for a while. Oh, that's so interesting. Which one was it? Was it like the freshman year one, or is it the junior year one that was like very well edited that had like the Frozen theme in it? I can't believe I was like, my roommate and I had a Frozen theme when we were like 19 or 20. I feel like that's too old for Frozen, but I was like really into it. Have you done a St. Joseph video? No, I can add that to my video ideas though. It's very interesting because he had all these dreams of God, angels speaking to him, whereas Mary did not. She just had the angel appearing to her. So I think that's very interesting. My fiance actually, I think, wrote a paper on St. Joseph, so he should come on my channel. Travis, hey, Lizzie. Hi, how are you doing? James, you're such a girl, broken nails and wearing pink. Yeah, it's very interesting because we were talking about like 30 minutes ago how my personality is actually very masculine in that I'm very assertive and logical and like suck at emotional support, and I'm like super work oriented. Like if you guys are into Myers-Briggs, my Myers-Briggs is like 5% women for that Myers-Briggs. But then on the outside, I'm like super feminine because I have like my hair scrunchies and everything is pink. And up until like 3 years ago, I had stuffed animals on my bed. So did you guys do that too? I had stuffed animals for like college and like beyond. I just think they're so cute and you have so many memories with them too. Caitlin says, summer 2012, I just finished 9th grade, so I was 14 years old. Wow. You just graduated high school and we're going to college. Wow. Okay, Ahmed says, I can't wait to go to Purgatory. I made my Purgatory video last year. It's like 40 minutes long. There were actually like 1,000 people who watched all the way to the 40-minute mark. I thought it was so cool. So in the video, I explain what Purgatory is like and why it's way better than being on Earth, and that the burning is God's love changing us. So I think I've said before, like, I'm excited to go to Purgatory. So I like that you guys have the same vibe. Michelle, I still have stuffed animals. I'm 41. See? The childlikeness should never go away. You remind me of Kat from the Nickelodeon show Sam and Cat. Did you guys watch Victorious? I watched it last year. I actually have known about Ariana Grande from like 2011 or something because she almost went to my high school. And so I had like a mutual friend who talked about her. And that was when she was posting like YouTube covers like onto her YouTube channel, like way before her first album came out. She had this song, Put Your Hearts Up, which now she hates, but I thought it was great. And she had like a champagne something one. So yeah, I'm like OG Ariana Grande. And of course, a lot of her singles are like absolutely horrible with their messages and stuff. But a lot of the other songs on the album have a lot of depth to them and have really good messages. But yeah, anytime I tell someone who's like not into Ariana Grande that I like Ariana Grande, they're like, all her songs are about sex. And I'm like, just her singles. Like, I hate most of her singles. That happens with me and a lot of artists. Like, the singles I don't like, but the other music I really, really love. Michelle says, I watch clips of Sam and Cat on Facebook. Not sure how legal Facebook clips are. So I don't know about Facebook, but on YouTube, they've actually connected the movie clips to the company. And so the ads on it are actually going to the production company, which is really cool. Like, I remember back on the day on YouTube, like when I was in high school, people would upload people's music videos to YouTube. This was like way before Vivo, which started uploading all the music videos. And so people would like mirror the video, so like put it like that the opposite way to like not get copyright striked, and then they would like make it smaller so there'd be like a black square around the video. So it's so cool now that everyone just puts their music videos online. Raul says, I got married almost 3 weeks ago. Congratulations. It's on YouTube if you want a link. Orthodox wedding. It's not letting me click on your channel. Can you send it to me on Twitter? Twitter would be the best. I get so many messages on Instagram. I've been replying to so many people lately, and like sometimes it stresses me out replying to people because it's just so many people, and people were like, write this much text about like the situation they're going through, and I want to reply to as many people as possible. But now, because of the way Instagram's replies are, people write like much shorter messages. So I'm able to get back to like, 15 people in an hour or something. Whereas before it's like 3 people in an hour. So that's been really great. And because of the way Instagram story replies work, people who wrote messages like 2 years ago or like 2 months ago, now it's coming to like the top of my messages. So I'm able to read messages that are from like a long time ago as well. Heather says, I'm an INFJ or a walking oxymoron. I'm also big on self-preservation. Person that I'm similar in attitude or view of the world is Henry Rollins, minus the agnosticism. Interesting. Fatima, thank you for replying to my messages. Oh, you're in my primary, actually. So I'm more likely to see your messages. I just changed you to primary. Do you guys, because I assume most of you don't have a business account for Instagram. Do you guys have like primary and non-primary? Because primary, like you have to choose to put someone there. So I have like my real life friends in there and like family. And then the other one is for like other people, but people who I talk to a lot, I put in primary, so I'm more likely to see it. Chaya says has to be something wrong with my Instagram. A lot of the replies I send don't get seen. I mean, I don't know who you're sending them to, but if you're sending them to someone with like thousands of followers, they might not see them because there's just so many people replying. Caitlin says, I do for my Instagram. Okay, I guess everyone has that. Fatima says, I have seen your videos since 2018. I thank God that I've gotten to know you. Oh, that's so sweet. James, I want to be in your primary. Leslie says, I took my picture during Hanukkah of last year. It was really sweet. Michelle says, sorry I keep sending you messages. I should stop for a while. Everything's fine right now. Don't stop messaging me because I really, really, really do end up replying to people. There's this one girl who had been messaging me back in like 2018, talking about how she wanted to go to Pepperdine, the place I went to for college. And she was like asking me for advice on it and like what professors should I take. So then she replied like a short reply to one of my stories. And so it came up to the top. And I was like, oh, wow, update me on your life. Like, what is going on? And now she's like a student at Pepperdine and like got a big scholarship. And it's so, so weird. So I guess California was taking the pandemic more seriously. And so Pepperdine had no in-person classes for 2020. For the fall of 2020 to 21 spring. So she hasn't even been on the campus and she's already been to the school for a year. And then she's studying abroad this year. And so that means that she won't be on campus until her junior year. That's so, so bizarre. I am so grateful I'm not in college right now. I think that would just be horrible not being able, because she says like you can't really have friends because it's like when you have a normal class, like you get to class early, you talk to people around you, you get out of class, you talk to people, you group projects, and it doesn't work like that virtually. Like you can't have a social life the way you would. So I think that must be really lonely for a lot of people. Heather says, since March, I've been uploading videos to my YouTube channel after accumulating 111 subscribers. Good job. It's mostly past high school days, personal stuff, and you now streams with friends and others. That's really sweet. Caitlin says, I'm going to grad school this fall and I'm so excited. Congratulations. What school did you get into? That's so fun. How many years is it? Oh my goodness. The light is like, this is my ring light, and for some reason, you know how some outlets are like not as strong and they're like shaky a little bit? That's what's going on with this. Have you guys been watching the Olympics a lot? I actually haven't. We can't go back and watch it, but I went on the website everyone's using and it like wouldn't let you see past videos. You had to wait like 4 days until it was over. So people have been posting clips on YouTube though. Suni Lee's uneven bars are like my favorite gymnastics routine I've seen in my entire life. Uneven bars are my absolute favorite. And she was doing things like she would go from the high bar to the low bar and do like 2 turns as she was doing it. It was so cool. So she totally deserved to win. Michelle, congrats, Caitlin. The light really scared me. I know. At least there's a little bit of another light going on, so it's not like pitch black. Ahmed says, I watch EWTN. That's so exciting. R1. Oh, by the way, guys, EWTN is on YouTube. Like everything they put on YouTube, they just don't have a lot of people watching it because, and this is going to become a problem for them in the future, but their demographic tends to be like boomers and Gen X. And so Gen Z and millennials are not a huge part of their audience. And so when they post it on YouTube, everyone is watching it on TV, like most of their audience. But if you do want to watch it, it is on YouTube. And I made my video with Catherine Hadro a few years ago, who runs Pro Life Weekly. And all of that is available on YouTube for you to watch. So she does an amazing job. She's like so good at her job. Okay. Vince says, Lizzie, girls are hitting on me and tell me I'm attractive a lot lately and I'm blushing like crazy. See? Women should totally make the first move. Fatima says, when your country is playing against mine, not playing against mine, support Mexico. Okay. Caitlin, I watched EWTN during the pandemic. Ahmed, I watched EWTN using the app live. Oh, they have an app. Okay, interesting. I feel like they should explain to millennials, Gen Z, like how to watch EWTN. I think they just need to make newer shows that have more like millennials running them, and they'll get more of an audience. But the fact that YouTube is just, I mean, cable TV is like less of a thing. They need to find a way to transition to something that younger people will watch. They could put it on like Netflix or Amazon Prime. They stream on their website for free. Interesting. Are you allowed to watch old clips too? Philippe says, what did you believe about the Mother Church before joining? So I believe that Catholics did not go to the Bible. I thought they worshiped the Pope. I thought they worshiped Mary. I thought that they could not pray directly to God ever. I thought that they could only talk to God in confession through the priest. Like, I literally thought Catholics couldn't pray. And the reason I thought all of these things was because I never met a practicing Catholic in my entire life until college. Like, all the Catholics I knew were atheists, people who grew up Catholic. And so I just never, ever knew an actual Catholic. And then I was learning all of these things in my public school, taught a lot of Catholic lies, my church, of course. So it was like, it wasn't even my fault that I believed all of these things. I mean, maybe it was, but it's just like when everyone around you is telling you one thing, it's difficult to want to research in it and like question everyone in your life who you intellectually respect. That's not like a normal thing to do. Vince says, Lizzie, if I get married one day, would you and Trevor come to the wedding? Yes! And you have to come to my wedding too. Chaya says, controversial opinion. It's about time the boomers and older Gen Xers finally retire and hand everything over to millennials? How old are millennials? I'm like at the very end of millennial age. So millennial ends at 25. I'm 27. 1981 and 1996. The oldest members are turning 40 this year. Interesting. So it's 25 to 40. So I think Gen X is probably still working. Ahmed says, these days, I feel like it's common to be culturally Catholic like it is to be culturally Jewish and not practicing. I totally agree. Michelle says, my grandparents had, I need to stand up straight, crucifixes in the hallway at the end. I remember that from when they would babysit us. I remember them taking us to church a few times. These days, I feel like it's common to be culturally Catholic. Oh, sorry. Michelle and you had the same color. I got confused. Okay. Michelle says they baptized their kids but stopped practicing. Fatima, will you be a writer in the future? So my book is finished and a lot of it is edited, but I don't know if it will ever come out just because I know a lot of you will super disagree with me and be mad at me that I think this. But during the Prince Harry and Meghan Markle splitting from the royal family and doing their interview about it, I had an epiphany moment. So like I said, a lot of you will be angry at me that I think this, but I think it was wrong for them to go do this interview and talk bad about their family members. So even though what they claimed they were doing was very, very bad, I think that you shouldn't publicly shame your family. And I don't know why I think this. It just rubbed me the wrong way what happened. And so then I look back at my life in the past few years and I was like, it's been horrible. I didn't even realize it, but it's horrible how I've brought my family into my conversion. I've talked about it in radio stations, on YouTube, in blogs. I've popularized how my parents reacted to my conversion. And it was things that maybe they regret it looking back. Maybe they're not proud of how they reacted to it. But it was not okay for me to publicly share family matters. And maybe because I'm growing older, it made me have more of a perspective being able to look back on the situation. But I am able to write my book without anything about my family in it. But I think that makes it inauthentic. Like, it doesn't really share the whole. One of the reasons that my conversion story became so popular is number one, because I hated Catholicism so much growing up, but number two, relationships I had to sacrifice in my life. Like, I don't even want to say how my family reacted anymore, but I'm sure a lot of you have heard the stories about it. And so that's what made my conversion story like so compelling, because I had to sacrifice relationships. And so in my book, that's like a huge part of the book as well. But it's like, I would want to cut out like dozens of pages to not talk bad about my family. And all other people I talk about in it as well. And it's like, you can create aliases, but ultimately, like, there's gonna be some people who know who you're talking about. And so, I mean, some of my friends I talk about in a positive way, but a lot of them, I like, there's things that they say that are objectively wrong and don't make them look intellectual. And so it's like, do I really want to put everyone in my life public to the whole world? Like, I don't know. I don't think I want to. Michelle, is your website still up? Yes! And okay, I have not put up yet, but I've written more blog articles to put up on my website. I have removed a few things just because I was like, why did I ever make this public? It's very personal. So I removed a couple things, but I will be uploading more blog articles. I have one written talking about gaslighting in relationships. And then I have another one talking about eating vegan in public if you're at restaurants. And so basically what I'm doing is taking Instagram stories and creating, like, if there's a lot of text and stories and everything, and then also publishing that on my website. So that's a great career tactic, to use content in multiple places. Shada, do you know any Catholics that speak in tongues? I'm not sure, but I know Catholics who are part of like the charismatic movement. So I would say probably I do know someone, but they haven't like revealed that they personally do. Vince, Lizzie, I noticed you watch my Instagram stories lately. Yeah, it came up towards like the front of my stories. Fatima says, that's a great decision. I wanted to know about it. I love your decision. Oh, thank you for saying that. Philippe says, I remember around the time I was confirmed Catholic, the Catholic world was rejoicing you converted to Catholicism. Aww. Heather says, the whole boomer stereotype I feel is somewhat overhyped. I agree. I think it's very disrespectful. And I can't blame that generation for our problems when it's integration and cultural Marxist infiltration of schools earlier to blame. Interesting. Tony says, you have great energy. Although I'm not Catholic, I enjoy your clips. Yeah, I mean, I talk about so many topics on my YouTube channel, and I've always had a very diverse audience of different religions, different philosophical perspectives. I've had a lot of people with mental illness. I've had different age groups through the years. So my current demographic, like across all my social media and YouTube, is like every age, like children, people who are elderly, like everything, both genders, like so many different things. And so, yeah, it's very interesting because on YouTube, you can see demographics of like male or female, age, like all these things. And on my Facebook page, you can also see the demographics, but on Instagram and Twitter, you can't, which I totally wish I could see demographics because I think it's so interesting seeing like who your audience is, what they might want to watch. So I just need to do surveys on Twitter and Instagram asking people what their demographic is. R1, is there a time where I should stop evangelizing, helping a group of homeless people if they threaten me? I would say yes. I think you should take your personal safety into account. I would talk to like someone in your life who knows the situation more than I would or anyone here would. So I would definitely talk to a mentor or your priest and explain the situation to them. I mean, at the same time, like Jesus and St. Paul were like constantly threatened for what they were doing. Like St. Paul was like almost stoned to death. Jesus was almost stoned to death multiple times. So there does come a point where you should be confronting danger, but it depends on the situation. Michelle says, the church I virtually attend will sometimes randomly speak in tongues and it freaks me out. Interesting. Yeah, I think I have experienced it. I went to a charismatic retreat when I was in college. It was with Church of Christ people, but we were just like seeing what another denomination is like, and it was very interesting. There were people who I forget now what it's called, but like the Holy Spirit something, and they like fall to the ground. So it was stuff like that. Oh, and then someone came up to me and they were like, I just had a prophecy about you. And they like pulled me aside and they kind of like knew some things about what I was going through, but it was general enough to where I feel like they could have said it to anyone and it would have related to their life. But it does kind of like affect you a little bit. They're like, wow, like, is this real? Do they actually know what I'm going through? So that's definitely super weird. Michelle says your mental illness videos have really helped me. That's why I'm a patron. Aww. Vince says meeting you and Trevor was one of the coolest moments of my life. Oh, after the pandemic, when I'm visiting, we have to do it again. Or we could even do it when we go to the beach, because we've been to New Jersey for the beach a couple times. So depending on what city you live in, it might be on the way. There are Christian sects that don't believe in the Trinity either. So if they don't believe in the Trinity, they cannot be considered Christians. Okay. Aldo Medrano says, hey, Lizzie, just wanted to share your videos on Catholicism. Helped me come back to the church. You, along with so many other channels, you guys are amazing. Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited. 3-1 says St. Paul had the first Christian stoned, R.I.P. Stephen. Mm-hmm. Caitlin, we need to see each other again. Okay, I will text you. I don't know where you're living right now. So I have begun traveling a little bit. I traveled like so much in June, July, and then I did not travel at all from like January to June, which is so weird because I usually travel like every other month. But I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I think I've kind of grown out of traveling because it was just like I wanted to be with friends all the time. And so sometimes I would be gone for like 4 months from my apartment. And so I've just kind of really been enjoying like not living out of a suitcase. And when I was packing in June for Florida, I was like, this isn't the best. So I'm really glad I've like settled down and not wanting to like constantly travel, because it's not good for your mental health to be always jet lagged and like going different places. So Michelle says Mormons don't believe in the Trinity. Yeah, so that's why the majority of Christians do not consider Mormons to be Christians by that definition. Twilight Mist says, I saw a clip of a college psychology class where they passed out personalized astrology to the students. Everyone said it was very good. The astrology was all identical. Oh my goodness, that's so good. That's so cool. Okay, I'm gonna copy and paste this. I want to watch this video. So, what I've experienced, obviously there's different astrology things. They might have made that up completely, that astrology. But I was reading the astrology. I was like hanging out with my family one day and I was reading my dad's astrology, and it was like completely opposite of his personality. It was so ridiculous. And mine was so different too. So I think that when people want to relate to it, they'll like look into things in a different way and they'll be like, that's totally me. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Jordan says, I can't wait for Lizzie to convert to Orthodoxy one day. I was actually talking to some people recently about like what would have to happen for us to leave the Catholic Church. And there are a couple scenarios that could happen where I don't want to go into depth because it'll like scandalize people and stuff. But actually, like I was talking about, like there are a couple situations where like we would all become Orthodox. So it is possible. We'll see moving into the future. Obviously, I'm open to being really wrong about things. Although becoming Orthodox doesn't mean you're that wrong about things. It just means like, oh, I'm going to go read 10 more church history books. I might become Orthodox if certain things happen in the modern Catholic sphere. Michelle said passports are expensive now. Really? I need a new passport in 2022. So wait, when? I got my passport in 2013 is when I got my passport. Okay. I was just thinking that I was going to get my new passport after I changed my name after I'm married. And I was like, wait, do I have to get it next year? But I have to get it in January 2023. So I don't know if I'm going to change my name immediately because I was thinking like it's such a hassle having to legally change your name. Like you have to change all your bank accounts, like your email, social security, like all this stuff with the government, passport, ID. So, but I eventually have to do it for my passport. So I'll probably like in January be like, I'll finally go and do this. But since passports last for so long. Okay. Chaya says, I'm planning to come out to LA in October. I haven't been since I left in 2009. Wow. Yeah, it's so incredible here. Twilight, I think I got my passport in 2014. Yeah, they last for 10 years. It'll be sad though because I have all like the countries I visited, so then I guess I'll have to travel even more. Victory in Jesus. Lizzie, have you ever met a celebrity before? So I lived in Malibu for 4 years, and there were a couple times where like people were like, oh, that's so-and-so. And I had no idea who they were talking about. So I like don't remember who these people are who I've not met but like seen, but in the vicinity of. But I have interacted with celebrities on social media, which I think is even cooler. So there are a few people. Ahmed, can you discuss anti-Catholic sentiment in America? So what do you mean? Like make a video about it or just talk about it more? I think that because it's a minority Catholic country, I've said this before regarding like systemic racism towards certain groups, like anytime there's a minority group in a country or a region, there's gonna be negative stigma about the group. And when it comes to race, it is really horrific and horrible. When it comes to gender, it can be really bad. And also, obviously, I'm not comparing racism to bigotry towards religion. Not at all. I'm just saying like it's a similar psychological concept where anytime there's a minority group, there's going to be some kind of negativity going on from the majority group. And so it shouldn't be surprising or shocking that because Catholicism is a minority religion in the US, there's going to be a lot of stigma and negativity towards it. So obviously there have been so many times during my conversion and after where I've been like so annoyed and like a little bit angry at how many lies are spread about my faith. It's just like, sometimes it's honestly infuriating because it's like, I try so hard to communicate to everyone what we actually believe and people still believe all these lies. And I think the hardest thing for me to comprehend is that Catholicism, unlike the majority of other Christian groups, writes everything down. So we have like hundreds of pages of like exactly what the church believes. It's not like, oh, we share certain things at Mass. It's like everything is written down. Literally everything is written down in hundreds of pages. And it's like, you have to agree with the church. So for other Protestant groups, there isn't going to be like as intensive books and statements and dogmas and doctrines and everything. In Catholicism, there's like all these objective beliefs everyone's supposed to believe. And so it's never really made sense to me how of all of the Christian churches, why is Catholicism the one that constantly has all of these like lies believed about it? And I'll even tell people like people are like, oh, you worship Mary. I'll be like, that's a sin in Catholicism. And they'll still believe it. But I mean, maybe people just like don't understand the authority structure of the Catholic Church. And then also like, I shouldn't be mad about it because it's the minority religion. So I'm sure in Catholic majority countries, there may be lies about Protestantism that they believe. So Chaya says, the thing about the US is there are pockets which are overwhelmingly Catholic. Boston, for instance. Also, many parts of the Southwest that are Latino. Yeah, and so it'd be really interesting to like do a survey of people who live in Boston and see like what percentage of like Protestants, other religions, atheists, agnostics, like what do they believe about Catholics compared to like Indiana or something. So that would be very, very interesting to me to see if the lies are different in different places. I went to high school in Florida, and in our AP European history class, so many lies about Catholicism were taught. That's when I really, really started hating Catholicism my senior year. And so I wonder what curriculum is in every state. And I know Texas creates a lot of the curriculum for the entire country, which is becoming more Catholic. So I don't know who's in charge of curriculum, but I think it's very interesting. And maybe states are in charge of curriculum, because I know in a lot of states that are more majority conservative, they've been saying that in like high school and middle school and everything, the teachers are not allowed to talk about systemic racism in history classes or civics, whatever you're talking about it in, which is like super weird to me because my dad's a professor. And so you have to present like every perspective in history. Like when you're talking about World War II, you have to say the Nazis believed this because of this. Obviously, you're not supporting that, but you have to share every perspective, even if you think it's wrong. So it's just been super absurd to me how they're trying to say, like, you're not allowed to talk about this perspective in your classes. And maybe they think, like, high school is different than college. Like, in college, people can think critically about it. But people in middle school and high school are very intelligent. And I think it's just, like, weird to ban a perspective from school. Like, even if I didn't think systemic racism was a thing, I would still want it to be taught in schools, because you're supposed to teach like every perspective. Like, our education system is not at all brainwashing. It's like critical thinking. You have to understand different perspectives, talk about why everyone disagrees. Like, it's never a situation where the teacher is like, this is truth. They're like, look at all these perspectives. What do you think? That's just like the way education works in this country. So it's just been like super sketchy to me when they're like, you're not allowed to talk about this in class. Jackie says, I sent you an article I wrote on the Immaculate Conception, proving it by some scientific means. Interesting. I mean, America doesn't talk about anti-Catholicism. They will be quick to talk about other religions and different races. Where are you from? America talks about negativity towards Catholicism so much. Chaya says, systemic racism is a huge part of American history. I have no idea how you teach history and ignore that. Same with leaving out labor history. Yeah, it's so weird. And like, you expect politicians to be able to understand what the definition of systemic racism is. Like, I totally get that millions of Americans don't know what systemic racism, like people who talk about that, they don't even know what they're talking about. Like, totally reasonable. The majority of Americans don't even read one book a year. So we shouldn't expect people to know that. But politicians, you expect to talk to people who are experts in these things. So it's like super weird. It's like, do they intentionally know they're being messed up and they're doing it anyways to get elected again? Like, super weird to me. So yeah, that's really bizarre. It honestly like makes me want to homeschool children, because it's like the public school is becoming so weird in what they're allowing, what they're not allowing. So obviously I don't want to have to homeschool because I want to have more time to work. But just the way different states are going, it's like depending on what state you live in. And I guess people can do like charter school and private school as well. And maybe that wouldn't be as regulated by the state. Amin says, who? I barely hear about the anti-Catholic sentiment. Really? Like, everyone in my life believes anti-Catholic things. even people who grew up non-religious, like people who are atheist and didn't even grow up in an area with religion, never went to a Protestant church, they believe all these lies about Catholicism. Like everyone in my life, people who know nothing about Catholicism. So Mimi says, I'm glad to know that there are Catholics here that realize there is systemic racism. People go so hard to shut down that portion up, which is a big red flag. Like, if you just want someone to not share the perspective at all, that's a red flag. Like, you should be open to hearing everyone. And what I really don't understand about people who don't want to talk about racism as much is like systemic racism, it's like kind of taking some of the guilt off of individual people. You know, it's saying like the prison system was set up in this way, the criminal justice system was set up in this way, the economic system was set up in this way. So it's saying like all of these things rather than saying like every individual person is super racist. So you think people who don't believe in racism would want to talk about systemic racism rather than personal racism, right? It just seems like they would feel better about themselves if they said systemic racism rather than personal racism. Obviously, we have both to deal with, but I think like the amazing thing about identifying systemic racism is because there are so many solutions to it by just changing things through legislation. It's not like you have to get like 10 million people to change their mind on how they feel about the world. So yeah, but honestly, I don't blame people. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say that. But I know for me personally, I did not believe in modern racism when I was like in middle school. And once I got to high school, I was on the debate team. And so I had to constantly research politics and American history. And so that's when I started realizing that there's so much systemic racism, like through my own research. And so I think a lot of people don't have that experience in high school or even college where they're spending like dozens of hours, hundreds of hours researching into the history of our political system in our country. And so I totally get why a lot of people don't even know what it is. And so I think we need to be covering it more in school than we are. So yeah, it's kind of like with anti-Catholic sentiment where I don't like completely blame people for it. That's how I feel about systemic racism. Like, I understand that it was never taught to people, but that doesn't mean that you should like immediately shut down any conversation when people are bringing it up. So yeah, huge red flag if you never want to talk about a topic. Google account is here. Hi. I'm right in front of the tabernacle. Hi, Lizzie. I'm at a private chapel of St. Mother Teresa Sisters. I was watching live stream mass from Australia. It's tomorrow over there. Aw. So it's like I'm at a vigil mass. I'd still go to mass tomorrow. Oh, that's so sweet. So I was talking about cell phone plans on Instagram the other day. And so everyone was messaging me from different countries talking about the price. And so in Canada, people pay like $120 a month for their phone plan. In Europe, people pay $20 a month for their cell phone plan. And it works in all of Europe. Like calling all of Europe, texting throughout all of Europe, 4G, LTE through all of Europe. So yeah, because I thought American prices were really high. And then I don't know, I wouldn't expect Canada to be higher. So it's really interesting seeing how everything works in different countries. Ahmed says, right? I don't completely blame people for anti-Catholicism. I kind of understand it. No Septivism says, I mean, most of the countries where the most common used language is of Germanic roots would tend to be anti-Catholic. Michelle says, I don't know mine. My dad pays mine. Yeah, most people are on their family plan. Maria says, do you still take Vraylar? It stopped working for me for bipolar 1 depression. I actually went off of it because I had to change health insurance and it wasn't covered. So we were like, let's try a month without it and see how it goes. We increased my Seroquel up to 400 from 300. And she's like, see how you do. And I actually love it a lot more because there were certain things about my personality that I like didn't notice were different. But one of the things is like I was very introverted and like not talkative around people. Like I was like not as social around people I didn't know or around people I hadn't seen in a while. Like I was just a lot more quiet. And my fiance was pointing it out, like in different situations. He's like, why are you not talking? And I like didn't connect it to my medication. But once I went off of it, I became like way more social and like wanting to talk to people more confident, deeper conversations. I just like became myself again. And so obviously I think it's totally worth losing parts of your personality to be like balanced in your bipolar. Like I've talked about this a lot, that like I'm totally fine not being as emotional, not having as much passion, not having as much energy or work ethic. Like I'm totally fine with like editing down parts of me. But it was kind of cool that I like could go off that and like become more of like what I thought was myself again. So it's been really good. And I'm sure like as the pandemic ends and everything opens up more, that it'll be even better. I'll get to interact with people more. It was so beautiful at my parish. Like the first time I went in without a mask, everyone was like talking to each other after mass, and like it was just so beautiful because for so long it's like you want to completely avoid people. Like that's what the masks, and obviously like I support caring about the pandemic. I'm not at all saying I don't believe the pandemic happened, but since everyone has been vaccinated and like isn't wearing their masks as much, like the majority of people are vaccinated, it's just like so amazing being able to just like interact with people like how we have for my whole life. So, and even like going to stores and like buying something, and like because we're not wearing masks, we talk to each other more. It's just so interesting how like a mask really changes the way you interact with people. So, yeah. I was gonna say something else, but I'm like, I don't want my YouTube channel deleted. Okay. Maria says, thank you for answering. So 400 Seroquel helps you with depression. So I've been on Lamictal since 2016. So like consistently. So I'm not sure how I would be if I was only on Seroquel. But I know for me, Lamictal completely prevents depression. So I think that's a really, really good bipolar medicine. And I have bipolar 1 because I don't know what about it, but even though it's not an antipsychotic, it like completely, and I've been on only Lamictal and I still get really manic on it. So I think of Lamictal as like preventing depression and then an antipsychotic as preventing as much mania. But the thing is, Lamictal takes like 2-3 months to get up to the right dosage. So it's super annoying. You have to wait for so long, but it can be dangerous if you go on it like all at once. So I highly recommend Lamictal. It's becoming like increasingly popular to give to people who are bipolar. So I would definitely ask for it. Okay, I'm on 300 milligrams of Lamictal. 150 is like not a therapeutic dose. I don't know why. Honestly, a lot of psychiatrists do not know what they're talking about. So I do all of my own research. I research different medications and then I ask to be put on those medications. And I think like a lot of people don't think to do that, but I'm like very assertive and I always stand up for myself. I trust no one more than I trust myself. I just am very like, I expect people to be bad at things. That's just been like my life experience. A lot of people don't care about things and are not going to put effort in things. So I've just known my whole life that like I need to put in the most effort and care about myself the most. And so I think when it comes with like my mental health, obviously I'm going to put in the most effort ever. So yeah, I always research my own medications. I research the side effects. You can Google and it shows like a ton of scholarly articles about go on Google Scholar, and it shows all the trials for the medications and side effects and like symptoms and all these things. So it's super easy. Just Google everything and articles will come up and you can research your own medication. And even if you see different like chat forums, like Reddit type things, and there's like thousands of people who have commented, that's very good information. And so I really recommend researching everything and obviously talking to other people who are bipolar about like what medication they're on, how it affects them. And that's very, very helpful. And yeah, for some reason, psychiatrists, most of them that I've experienced are horrible at their job. So you really have to stick up for yourself. And some people in my life have been going through medical problems, and doctors have like really messed them up because the doctor did not properly diagnose it. And so even for like non-mental health medical things, always research for yourself. Like I've been literally shocked that one of my like family members or friends like went to their medical appointment with the specialist, and they're like, hey, is this like a side effect of this? And they're like, nope, completely random. And I do like a 5-second Google search, and like the specialist of the disease comes up and talks about how that's a side effect. So like literally any doctor ever, you cannot trust them too much. And that's why it's really good going to like a second or a third opinion, fourth opinion, if you have like some really serious health thing. But also just Google. Like that's what's amazing about the internet. Everything is readily available to anyone. And I just think you should be like your strongest advocate. And like if you know people in your life with a mental illness or anything going on, do a ton of research for them, because you cannot just blindly trust. Like I could go into so many stories of people who were like so screwed over by their medical professionals and now have like this huge medical problem that never would have existed if their doctor had known what they were talking about. So yeah, do not blindly trust professionals. Obviously, ask for their opinion, but don't accept it as truth. You have to ask for so many different opinions. Do your own research. Raul, Lizzie, I sent the link through Twitter. Okay, cool. I'll look at it. Fatima says today is the day of St. Ignatius of Loyola. Aww. Maria says thank you. Jacob, well, churches close again due to Delta. It totally depends on the state. So the federal government is saying that they're like recommending to wear masks in school again and businesses and everything, but they actually don't have the authority to say for the entire country mask regulation. So it's up to each state. So I don't know if you live in the US or out of the US, but yeah, it will just depend on what state you live in. But I'm sure that there will definitely be some states who will close churches down. Google account. I was recommended Lamictal by my medication management prescriber, but I don't think I need it. I think my Latuda handles my schizoaffective good without it. Yeah, it just depends on how you're feeling, what your symptoms are. And like one thing I always keep in mind is that like mental illness changes how it manifests like all throughout your life. So it's good to always be like open-minded and like monitoring yourself and thinking like, is it still working in the same way? Like, am I getting more symptoms back? And just having that like long-term perspective that you're going to have to change throughout your life. So that's like pretty upsetting to me, because I definitely found medications that like work perfectly. And then it's like, oh, like in 4 years, I'm going to have to find a different one. But at least they last for several years. Seti, how do you feel? Okay, we're not going to talk about Seti. Hi, Lizzie. I'm wondering, have you ever lived abroad? Yes, I lived in Thailand for half a year. I worked there in missionary work. So I did it through a Church of Christ organization. And basically we had like a workbook of the Gospel of Luke in like an easy to read translation. And so we would do one-on-one reading sessions where we would go over grammar, pronunciation, everything like that. And as we were doing it, we would ask questions related to God. And so people were wanting to learn English for free. That was the whole thing. And it was mostly with college students, some older adults, some teenagers, mostly college students. And so that was when I was in college. So I became such good friends with them, and I learned a lot of Thai. I started dreaming in Thai. That's when, you know, you're really starting to love a language. So I was actually going to move there upon graduation from college, but then I became Catholic instead. So it was like super heartbreaking for me not being able to go back, because over the years I'd become like very close friends with a lot of people there. And it was so interesting to me because even though they didn't know a ton of English and I didn't know a ton of Thai, like through group activities and stuff, I felt so close to them, even though we couldn't like communicate in the same way that I would with Americans. So, and it was also so cool seeing through the years. I went to their 3 separate summers. seeing how much people improved their English through the years, it was like so cool. Like some of the readers were new there and they'd like start off like not knowing anything. And then by like the third summer, they were like fluent. And so, yeah, it was so, so cool having that experience. And it like permanently changed the way I view Christianity in the world because America, like I grew up in such an individualistic country. And so being there, it's like a collectivist country, which is completely opposite. So like you do everything with everyone and you care about the group and it doesn't really matter what you individually want as much. So it was quite the experience. And the first time when I came back to America, I was like super culture shocked. Like it wasn't even depression. It was just like I felt so alone because in Thailand, I'd always be with people. Like if I was like gonna go to the store to buy water, they'd be like, okay, 5 people go with you. Like if you're gonna cook dinner for yourself, like, oh, 5 more people will help you. Like you're constantly around people. And so I immediately started back my next semester of college. The first time I came back, I was like 19 and it was horrible. Like I cried every day. I felt so alone. I was like completely numb and luckily it went away like after a month, but it was so hard. And it was just because I was coming from such a beautiful culture. And it's very interesting because when I went from the US to Thailand, I had like a tiny bit of culture shock for like 3 hours and then nothing. But when I came back to the US, I was super culture shocked. So I think that's very interesting. And I definitely think that their culture is like superior in a lot of ways. But it was interesting hearing their perspective of like what they appreciate and respect about the US. And one of the things is like our work ethic and our ambition. And so it helped me love America more, if that makes sense. Cause like I feel like when you grow up in one place, you like see all the negatives of it, but seeing from the perspective of people from a different country was very interesting. And also, a lot of my college friends were international students from other countries, and they helped me love the US too, because they were like some of them have become citizens, not citizens yet, but are like working on becoming citizens. And it's just been very interesting to me how like they so want to be US citizens. And so it helped me appreciate living in this country so much more. And I just feel like I'm so thankful for a lot of what US has taught me and how it shaped me. But it's been really amazing getting to have a lot of friends and living in a place that is collectivist because there are so many weaknesses in US culture. And I think, especially in Christianity, we view it as a very individualistic thing. But Christianity was created in a collectivist culture. Like it is inherently collectivist. And so I think it permanently changed me. And like the way I view relationships and like just every part of my life is collectivist. And it's even created like some difficulties with like my fiance because we're both very different because he never had like a ton of international friends and like living in Asia and stuff. So he views everything very individualistic. So yeah, it's very interesting how we have like completely different views of like interacting with people sometimes. And I think it doesn't really come up with friends as much, but when you're like really close to someone. So yeah, that's the root of like a lot of our conflict is like I want to be more collectivist and he wants to be more American. So yeah, but I totally would have lived in a different country if I like could. I would totally have left the country. So, but I am very, very grateful to be here. And I think also I moved around so much growing up that I never really felt like I vibed with one place. And California, I like super vibed with, which has a lot of Asian culture. So, and Hispanic. So it's very collectivist more. But yeah, the other thing that's really interesting to me is that the places where Christianity is flourishing are collectivist, and the places where Christianity is dying are individualistic. So, very interesting to me. Vince says, Lizzie, I'm going to my first actual high school reunion. Wow. And the person who doesn't talk to me anymore, the person that helped bring me to Christ in my life doesn't talk to me anymore. It's going to be weird. Really? I don't think it's that weird because like most people don't keep up with people from their high school. And it's not like an offensive thing. It's just people grow up and as you move away and grow older, you don't keep those relationships as much. So yeah. Unless you had like a big falling out that was very like emotionally traumatic, then yeah, I don't think it matters that much. Google account. Have a good Sunday, Lizzie. I'm going to listen to tomorrow's homilies from around the world on YouTube. Oh. I watched the cathedral in Manila, Philippines, and 2 churches in India and Australia. Good night. That's a really beautiful thing that has come out of the horrific part of the pandemic is a lot of churches have been live streaming their services, and it's really cool seeing from other countries what their mass is like. I like it a lot. R.G. Whitaker, do not blindly trust any medical professionals. Excellent advice, Lizzie. Ahmed Rose, the first Catholics were Jewish. Ahmed, I wish America was a monarchy. What's the psychological type of your husband? We're not actually married yet, but he's an ISTP. What current shows, and literally like every conflict we've ever had in our relationship, I can understand it through MBTI. Like, it's very, very helpful. Because I think sometimes if you're getting in conflict with someone, it can be like very frustrating because you don't understand where the conflict is coming from. So it's been very helpful knowing like exactly what it is. Jim Vedra, what current shows are you watching that have Catholic themes in them? So I've been watching, wait, let me make sure I'm saying the right name. Okay. It's called okay, what is it called? Sorry, I don't want to say the wrong name and be recommending something totally different. Okay, it's called Planet Earth. So it's a nature documentary series from BBC, and I know it's not like specifically theology, but it's God's creation, and it makes me so much more in awe of and in love with God, and just realizing how incredible his power and creativity and love is for us by just showing animals in the wild and what they're like and how everything like perfectly, like the plants and animals and predators, like everything just like works perfectly the way the ecosystems are. And so I think it's just been such a spiritual experience for me watching the series. So that is the BBC Animal Planet. I highly recommend this on Netflix, and you might be able to watch it other places. But yeah, it's amazing. And it also talks at the end of each episode kind of like about environmental issues, like how it's affecting certain things, like some of the habitats, the forests have been torn down for like to grow different things. Like I think the worst is the palm tree industry is tearing down a ton of jungles, and a lot of animals like might go extinct from it. So it just talks about ways to like love the earth more. So I know a lot of Christians are like anti-environmentalism, but I don't understand it because I think if God created such amazing, unique, beautiful ecosystems and animals and species, wouldn't we want to protect them and love them and like not let animals go extinct? I don't know. I just think animals are so amazing and incredible. And like personally, I don't really like pets, and I don't go to zoos, and like I don't eat animals. I don't like a lot of animals. Like I don't like pets. And I don't like when dogs come up to me and stuff. So I'm not that much of an animal person, but seeing animals in the wild is amazing and so beautiful. And it's way better than going to the zoo. I'm against zoos because I don't think animals should like live in cages. I think they should live like out in the wild where they're supposed to live. So yeah, it's amazing. So like growing up, if my kids like classes going to the zoo, I'll be like, no, we're just gonna watch Animal Planet instead. So highly recommend it. Ben? Wait, we're Vince, she just completely blocked me and didn't even tell me. She didn't tell me why. She didn't want to stop being friends. I hope I don't run into her at the reunion. Oh, okay, so that was kind of awkward. Vince, if you run into her, remember not to just smile at her when she walks up to you. I did that once. It looked like a serial killer. Okay. Has anyone taken AP World in high school? Yes. I got a 4. Yeah, I got a 4 on it. I was really upset about it. I didn't get a 5 until my senior year. I got 5 in, I think, all of them, maybe a 4 on one of them. Anyways, so yeah, I was really sad about that. But it was a really fun class. I would say it was like the least fun class that I took history-wise in high school. I really loved American history. I really loved European history. And okay, have you guys noticed how weird it is that like in American education, we like never talk about Africa, Asia, Eastern Europe, Russia, Canada, South America? Like we literally only talk about the US and Western Europe in like all of school. Like my dad's in a history professor, and in his department they don't have anything about like Asian history or like African history. It's so weird. Like why is it not normal to talk about different parts of the world? Obviously we're not going to be able to create peace and get along with the world if we don't even understand or want to understand them. I don't know. I just think it'd be really cool in school if, because in high school you have 4 years, and so you could do 1 year talking about like Asia, Africa, South America, Europe, and the US. I don't know. I just feel like maybe they should put more history classes. And the other thing that's really weird to me is there's like a stereotype of history being really boring. And history class has always been like my favorite part of school. Maybe because my dad's a history professor. But I don't know, it's always so fun learning about different cultures. And so, yeah, I think there should be more for sure. Gab, how long have you been vegan? For 5 years. I became vegan it's almost my vegan anniversary. I became vegan in like August 20th of 2015. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, 6 years. Whoa. 2016, 2017, 2018, 2020. So 6-year anniversary is coming up. That's kind of amazing. I think that yeah, it's just become so easy. Like I remember when I was college was very difficult and like sometimes beyond, because like everyone in your life is getting used to like not eating meals together, and you're getting used to cooking and like what restaurants are vegan and everything. But after 3 years, it becomes super easy and you just have it down how to eat and everything. So yeah, a lot of people don't know, but there's this iPhone app called Happy Cow. I think you have to pay a few dollars, but like best money I'll ever spend. And it shows all the vegan restaurants in your area. Like it automatically tracks where you are. And then it shows you any restaurant that has like one vegan option. And it also shows vegetarian options too, but only eat vegan. So yeah, that app's amazing. I've been doing a lot of vegan things on my Instagram stories as well, which also post on Facebook. So if you're more into Facebook, follow my Facebook page. It's just Lizzie Rize, and I post all of my Instagram stories onto those Facebook stories. So yeah, I also have started doing scheduled posts. I just downloaded an app that works for Twitter. I can do it. I have like a business app for my Facebook page. But yeah. Okay, it's been 1 hour and 58 minutes. Lizzie, have you heard of Catholic Christian Outreach? No. JM, have you watched the documentary Game Changers about vegan athletes? No. I'm going to write that down. Where can we watch it? I love documentaries. Documentaries are my absolute favorite. I do not like regular movies and shows. I just like documentaries. Okay. Fully Raw Christina has a good app too, but you have to pay a few dollars for it. I would get a Google Play gift card so I don't have to use my credit card. Most of my history was American. I got so sick of it after a while. Yeah. Fatima says, I always enjoy learning from you. Gotta go, Lizzie. Bye. Keith, Lizzie, when are you going to be back? So I'm going to live stream every single Saturday night going into the future from 8 to 10 Eastern, 5 to 7 Pacific. So 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. So every Saturday. And maybe after a few weeks, if I really like this, I'll start live streaming more. But so far, that is the live stream schedule, and new video every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. So new video every Wednesday morning, live stream every Saturday night. So it has been 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 33 seconds. We could do one more question. Cassie says, I miss your live streams. Yay, love them. I miss them too. Bye, Caitlin. Gab says, I'm going to be vegan now 2 days in. That's so exciting. Make sure to follow my Instagram. I'm going to post a lot of vegan stuff, and I'm also going to post more vegan stuff on my website. Okay, one more question. Oh, we already asked about live. Okay, everyone's just talking about YouTube. Okay, it's been 2 hours. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you everyone for supporting my channel and sticking around as I've been inconsistent. I'm so excited for my new YouTube schedule. I love you guys a lot. Bye.